What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to keep your backup generator ready, whether it's a power outage from a storm
and there's no signs of the storm
or a grid down situation. You're going to want to do these things before the situation occurs, because the last thing that should be on your plate is worrying about getting one of these started in that situation. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because I was in this situation not so long ago. It was no big deal. We had a power outage from a storm that lasted around 5 hours, but during that power outage I wanted to get my generator started to keep the food in the refrigerator cold, and I had an issue getting it started. Now, this is my fault, hence why I'm making the video as well, so you don't make the same mistake I did keeping a generator at your home. When you keep a generator at your home, make sure that you don't keep any fuel in it, because you don't know when you're going to be using it again, and you don't want it to be sitting there for years like I did. If you're in an area that doesn't have frequent power outages, the fuel could be sitting in the generator for years. The way that they're making gas nowadays with 10% ethanol, it's not the best stuff to keep in your engine, because the ethanol will do damage to your carburetor and fuel system. Not only that, but they are talking about upping the ethanol percentage from 10% to 15%. So I can imagine what that's going to do to our small engines, what that's going to do to any engines. Now, the generator that I own is Harbor Freight's Predator 8750. But this video basically covers all generators in general. They're all the same. Whether you have the most expensive generator down to the cheapest generator, the fuel that we're using nowadays is going to do the exact same thing to every fuel system. No, it's not apple cider vinegar. Nope, it's not dehydrated human urine. This is 6-year-old fuel.
Oh, that's nasty.
So if you do own this style generator, this is what you're going to want to do to get to the carburetor. An easy way of telling if it is the carburetor that's dirty or gunked up is you take off your air filter cover, which is basically these two snaps. And you take the cover off, take out your filters. This is the easiest way to find out if it's, to make sure that it's the problem with your fuel, not your spark. First off, you always make sure that your fuel is on, in the on position. According to this decal over here, this is not correct. This is the total opposite of the way it is. So if you do want it on, it has to be this way. Off is this way. And you want to crank your engine, okay? Whether it's with the pull chain or if you have an electric start, it's going to be you use the electric start to save on the back. First, you're going to want to close your choke. Shoot some fuel in your carburetor. Just like that. Now, if it starts like that, then it basically just burned off whatever you just sprayed into the carburetor, and it's not getting fuel from the bowl. That means your main jet is plugged up. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take off your air cleaner housing, which is basically these 6 nuts. I already have 4 of the nuts off because I started dealing with this a couple weeks ago. So you're going to want to take off the 6 nuts, which are 8 millimeter. All right. Put that off to the side. Then you're going to want to take off these 2 nuts here that connect to the carburetor. And how you do that is you just pull this vent tube up out of the way. Once you get the breather hose out, there's 3 nuts, 3 10 millimeter nuts. 1, 2, and then there's one in the back. So let's remove them. It's 1, 2, 3. Once you get those 3 nuts off, then you just pull this off. So get it out of the way, we'll take this hose off. Always make sure that your fuel going to the carburetor is turned off. And you just take off your fuel inlet hose. Even if this valve is turned off, you are going to get a little bit of fuel coming out of the fuel inlet hose. So don't, so expect it. Maybe get yourself a little rag or something to catch the fuel if you don't want it all over the place, like I'm going to do. And you just pop your hose off, and whatever fuel's in the hose is going to come out. Alright, you're going to take off this carburetor spring right here. Okay, once you get your spring off, your carburetor is basically free, and then you just take the carburetor off, pop off your linkage. Just take off these 2 clips. And I'm going to disconnect the wires. And we're going to take this to the bench and we're going to work on it on the bench. Like a gentleman. Get off our knees. Ah! 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 Okay guys, before we start working on this, I want to take out this drain screw. Just to get whatever fuel that's in it out. Let's get our dehydrated human urine over here. We'll put it in here, the rest of it. And we're gonna put it in the vise, but only to hold it. We're not gonna really squeeze it that hard. We're gonna use the vise as like extra hands. We're not gonna use it to squeeze it or damage it in any way. To take off this sensor, it's basically two number 2 Phillips heads, but I'm gonna try using a impact gun with a number 2 Phillips head. Yeah, that's the best way of doing it. Use an impact with a number 2. Because otherwise than that, you're gonna strip out the head with a hand screwdriver. And right off the bat, see how crusty and nasty that is. So I can imagine what it's going to look like inside that carburetor. Oof, and it reeks. Oof. Oof. Smells like some old hiney. Okay. Go on this nut with a 14 mil. I don't know what we're going to find here. I hope this carburetor is still good because of my negligence. Oof. Whew. We'll see. So now you got the bowl loose. I'll take it out of the vise. Hopefully we didn't do any damage to our gasket, which I don't think we did, but we'll find that out later. And you're going to want to take your bowl, give it a couple cracks. Oh, I guess one crack did it. There is some nasty goo at the bottom of this carburetor. Oh. Ew. So yeah, you see how nasty that is. So now you're going to want to take out your float and your needle. Just remove that one little pin. Float and needle pull straight out. And the needle doesn't look that bad. And a little gunky, but not that bad. You're gonna have to get a flat screwdriver and take out your main jet, which is most likely gunked up. That's the reason why it's not running. Be very careful trying to take out this jet. I'm just praying that it's not in there that tight, because I've damaged jets like this trying to take them out before. Especially on these well-manufactured carburetors from the great land of China. You said it. Alright, I was able to loosen it, so now you take out the main jet, and this thing is probably gunked up, clogged solid, I would imagine. Just give it a bunch of taps till it comes out.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
Just like that. Okay, here's the main jet, which is literally block solid. And your fallopian tube, your emulsion tube, which is literally block solid as well. Then you get yourself a nice can of carb cleaner. I like to use Gum Out. It's a good cost-effective price, and it works pretty well. Now, carburetor cleaner is essentially acetone in a spray can, basically. So what I like to do is I like to get myself a little pan. This one's a magnetic pan. It doesn't have to be magnetic. I like to put all my parts that I'm going to clean in the pan. Taking off the needle, be very careful because there's a little spring on it that you don't want to damage. And I like to spray my parts down. You're going to want to make sure that you get this emulsion tube. You want to make sure that all the orifices are clear. That's pretty clear and clean and clear. You're going to want to take a brush. Don't go crazy with the brush. Make sure it's a nice mild bristle brush. I use a plastic. And just basically go over the whole tube. It doesn't have to be beautiful. You just want to make sure that all the orifices are clear. That's basically what you're doing here. So this way the fuel could flow through all the orifices. If there's a hole, make sure there's fluid flowing through it. That's my motto. All right, here's the main jet. Same situation. Okay, get all your stuff cleaned off. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Some nasty, gunked up creap. Yeah, there's a gasket on the bottom. Just be careful when you take this apart that you keep an eye where it goes and where it belongs. There's also another gasket where the bowl seats. You want to make sure that that's in good shape as well. Mine's a little dirty, but I think it'll seal again. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that your carburetor body itself, everything is flowing through as free as it can be as well. Every hole you spray in, it should have an exit. So you want fluid to go through. Now onto the nasty dirty bowl. Okay, once you get everything as clean as you can, start putting everything back together. I always like to make sure that my float is working. Right side up, you should have air flowing through. Upside down, shouldn't. Means your seat is seating. It means your seat is doing its job by seating. Put your motion tube back. Put your main jet upside down. Let's try that again. Put your main jet right side up. Once you get that together, then you put your bowl back on. You're going to want to make sure your bowl is oriented the correct way, not only to help you drain it in the right direction, but you can also put this thing back on. So don't forget that. Don't forget your gasket. This little weird screw with the extra holes in it. That's got to go up in there. Put a guy in there and send him home. I think this is an idle control situation. Okay, now that it's all back together, I'm going to mount it back up on the machine. Enjoy the lovely music. Open up the thing, make sure it's not leaking. What's going on, folks? So yeah, I'm trying something new, trying to help with my retention time. But anyway, I ended up getting the generator running, plugged the light in it to make sure it is generating power. Not that it wouldn't be, but just to be sure. I switched off the fuel supply and ran it until the carburetor was out of fuel. That's something I recommend you to do as well, because you've seen what fuel that sits for a while does to a carburetor. And then after that, I opened up the garage door because, you know, not dying is a good thing. Then decided to put in some fresh motor oil because it's been a while and the generator's worthy of it. That's something I recommend you to do as well. Like I said earlier, this machine is something you're going to depend on in a grid down or emergency situation, so it's best to keep it in tip-top shape and ready to roll. My machine takes 10W30. Yours might be a different weight. Check with your manufacturer. I'm sure it'll be in the directions. Then I siphoned out whatever remaining gas was in the tank so I don't have the same problem next time, because I'd rather fill the tank with gas than have to fight with the machine to start. I like to neatly place my cords on top, tuck it away under my workbench so that it's ready for its next use, hoping I never have to use it, but in case I do, it's ready to roll. I hope this video was helpful, not only to teach you how to get your machine back up and running, but to help you prevent this problem from happening in the future. I would appreciate a like and maybe consider subscribing. Don't forget, I'm on Instagram at A Touch. I'm also on Facebook and TikTok. Check us out on there. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on A Patriots Touch. Have a nice day. This is no. So no, this isn't. This is definitely. No, this isn't. This is definitely. So no, this not only to have the plug, not only because you want the drain plug, not only because you want the plate. So that's gonna find us now. Great.